Hi everyone. If you're a woman over 60, you have spent many precious hours of your life gathering up items that you are now trying to find a home for. Downsizing is a very complex business when you get a little older and you've gathered so many things that really have a strong emotional value to you. So I want to share with you some ways of approaching this kind of downsizing, this learning to simplify. And also I want to share with you one truth that honestly will make it so much easier, and in a way maybe the hardest truth to have to accept. But I'll share that with you shortly. But first of all, I want to share my tea. Every day I choose a new one, and this is ginger. It's a ginger herbal tea. It's quite nice and refreshing. Hope you got a drink or tea, coffee, whatever you love. Now, I want to mention to you too that our sponsor for today's show is Easy Spirit. Now, Easy Spirit has been making comfortable shoes for women now for over 35 years, and they've updated their website and have got some beautiful shoes now that are stylish and comfortable, so you don't have to choose. They believe that anything is possible if you feel comfortable, and that it should be uncomplicated, that comfort should be uncomplicated. So check out their products on easyspirit.com and check out the promo code, which is in the description under this video. So, downsizing. Okay, downsizing is incredibly complex as we get older. And the one question that I hear all the time from the women in our community is, clothing's easy, maybe even pictures are straightforward once you get into it, but there are some things that have huge sentimental value. And how do you get rid of the chest of drawers that your mother spent months doing and painting and decorating? How do you get rid of that item of jewelry that someone who you really, really loved maybe in the past gave to you? How do you let go of things that pull at your heart, that really have a strong emotional connection? Well, there's some ways you can deal with this. I mean, first of all, you can look at the pure financial and practical side of it, which is, it's holding you back. It's holding you back from doing things in your life that are going to make you happy and have fun. And it's going to save you money on storage unit costs as well. I mean, think about the money you might be spending on having a storage unit. It's really hard. Now, Sarah Hart's one of our bloggers, and she wrote an article about the hardest part of downsizing, which is getting rid of these emotional items. And she says, was it painful? Of course. Was it hard? Of course, these things are not easy. But when you get to the heart of this is the most difficult category. Okay, so how do you approach this? Well, first of all, think about the people that you are going to potentially leave all this stuff for. And this is the hard one, and it leads to that truth that I was telling you about a few minutes ago. Think about your children's art. I know when I started looking through all my papers, I found like the electricity project that my son did in grade 5 and his collection of colored fish that were really cool when he was 3. But what do you do with that? Well, you have to either take a picture of it, which I did. I took digital pictures of pretty much everything. I scanned all the art and the school projects that were interesting, not them all, the little poems that they wrote and Mother's Day cards. I actually did scan all of that. And then the rest, books, teddy bears, things that I had kept just as souvenirs because they were heart connections, I gave to places where I knew they were going. And I think this is a point that Sarah makes, and I think it's important. If you take the books to a library, to a children's library, and you say, look, these are books that I'd like to donate, knowing that other little kids are going to read those books, it kind of just makes it all in perspective. I mean, your children now might be having children of their own. You might be a grandmother, and you definitely want to pass some of the books on to them, of course, but let them go. Let them go to somewhere where they can help, where they can give something to someone else. Another thing is art, which sometimes has a huge connection, did for me. You can give it to a charity. I gave my art when I was severely downsizing. I gave it to a homeless shelter that I had created an art gallery for people who were artists and couldn't get their work shown. So they sponsored this art gallery, and then they sold donated paintings to pay for the rent and to keep it going, which is really, really cool. This is in Seattle. But I think that the truth that I want to get to, which is at the heart of all this, and I think it was Next Avenue, another group wrote an article on this, and it's from my heart, is the most difficult. It's simply, your kids don't want your stuff. They just don't want it. Think about the way that people are living their lives now. I mean, when you think about young people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, they're creating lifestyles where they don't have to have a home base. I mean, not only are the housing situations and all the political, machinations making it hard to buy a first house with a garage, with an attic, with a place to put things, but they're having to live in co-living arrangements or in shared accommodation, and they just don't have room for your furniture or your dishes these dish collections, or the wonderful vases and glasses and just collections of things that you have bought over the years. Think about that. I mean, they just don't have room for it. They also have a different lifestyle around possessions. And I think this is really important to understand. And I'm telling you, as I mentioned earlier, this is the hardest truth, that you have spent years collecting all these wonderful, even quilts or cushions or whatever you like that you love. Some of them are pretty strange collections that we have, I must admit. But your children don't want them. And your grandchildren definitely won't want them. Choose one or two, or something that's precious that can be handed and put in a drawer somewhere, or pictures of these things. But they don't want everything. I just gave away a beautiful quilt that I had done when I owned a business years ago, and I just kept hold of this quilt for years because it was such a beautiful piece. And I finally let it go. I finally just took it to a charity shop and let them have it. And it was actually I felt lighter when I walked out, which you probably would too. So don't save things for the kids. This is my biggest piece of advice here. They won't cherish them in the same way that you collected them. And this may be so hard that you need some help. Now, we've got a site, learntosimplify.com, which is really geared for the practical side of downsizing. But, the aspects of letting your kids go and letting them live their lives without your possessions in their hands, give them a little bit of a break here. It's like, your legacy is in the experiences that you've had with them, the things you've done together, the memories, not in the things. And that, I think, is the hardest thing about downsizing, don't you? Maybe you can share with us what ideas are about downsizing, because I certainly have challenges. Now, there's a quote I want to share with you here. I think it's a variation of a quote by Anais Nin. Sarah mentions this in her article, but I think it crystallizes this issue, which is, you have a choice. I have a choice here. I can find ways to lovingly let go of the items, or I can live with the consequences of holding on to it. And that's the thing. What are the consequences? Do you have to rent a storage unit? Are you continually reminded of things like, the 15 different Christmas tree decoration boxes that you've got without the family to share it with now? Are you holding on to things that are really hard to let go? But what are the consequences of keeping them? And I think that's the thing to look at. So what's your greatest fear when it comes to downsizing? I'd love to know what your greatest fear is, and how you think you're going to deal with that as life, as you move towards the point where you won't have a choice. You have to leave them for someone, and someone will have to deal with that. So that's, I think, the gift you can give to your children, is to take care of all these things, find homes for those things, and move on lighter in your mind, in your heart, and in your body too. So thank you so much for listening and sharing this conversation with me about downsizing. Thank you, Sarah, for the article. I really think it's important, and I know from my own experience, I got down to 200 items a few years ago. Yes, items, not categories. And yes, I've accumulated a little more back. You go back and forward. It's a lifestyle, but you've got to kind of want it, and you've got to desire it and go for it. So thank you again for being here. 60andMe, of course, the channel, our website, 60andme.com. We have our YouTube channel here. Please subscribe and ring the bell wherever that is, and you'll be told when new videos are released. And just know that I really do care about you being here. It's precious to me to have you in our community of sisters, and thank you for your support, and have a wonderful day wherever on this planet you are. Bye-bye for now.